BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Then get in on the action with our 200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. Welcome to Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals, part of the Bleav Network, joined by former tight end and Super Bowl 33 participant Ed Smith. My name is Javon Adams. Be sure to subscribe, comment, rate, and follow this podcast, and tell all of your Arizona Cardinals fans and friends to do the same. You can watch us on Bleav TV around the country, in airports, and on YouTube. Read the top Bleav stories at si.com and follow us across all our Bleav socials. Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. What is good, my brother Ed Smith?
Well, we both, I hope you got some hot sauce from me because I like my crow spicy. And Cardinals went over there and pulled it off, man. And really a weird game, though. We're going to get into it, obviously. But at one point, it looked like the roof was falling in on the Cardinals, and then all of a sudden tides turn, and the fact that the 49ers lost their place kicker and had to start going for it on fourth downs, that was one of the most bizarre games and circumstances, because if they have their kicker, they actually score more points, obviously, down in the red zone twice, and it's probably a different outcome, but you got to play the cards that you're dealt, and the Cardinals came away with a dub here out of nowhere, man. This is why you don't make money betting, even though I did throw a little something down with Bet Online. I did get down with them. I just didn't win because of some crazy things that happen across the NFL, man. I'm telling you. But, I mean, you just can't call it.
I know the first thing that happened, what my youngest son Elijah calls me, and he's super excited. And he said, y'all better talk about that on the podcast tomorrow. Y'all better tell Ed to give my team some credit. And then not too long after that, my oldest son Kendra called me and said, what Ed gonna say tomorrow?
Tell your sons to stop picking on me.
Man, but I appreciate them for listening, and make sure you tell your friends and all your Arizona Cardinal fans to subscribe to the podcast. But yeah, let's get into it a little bit there, because going into the game when we were last here on Friday, this for last week, we were the line, according to Bet Online, when we last broadcast, was -7 for the San Francisco 49ers. The ending score 24-23. As you mentioned, it looked like one of those things. I think at the end of the first half, James Conner had six carries for 9 yards. And if I am looking at this correctly, he finished the game with 19 carries for 86 yards, and they really didn't go away from him. Kyler Murray, he ended up finishing with, 87 carries for 83 yards. There was the one, of course, in the first half, in the first quarter, in which he breaks out and he raises his finger up, and he's as if he already knows, calling the shot there. And so it was the highs and lows of Kyler Murray, and I want to get into all that in just a second. But I want to ask you this. So what, if anything, did this win show you? Is this more of like your child, where they say that they're not smart enough to do whatever this thing is, and then you solve the problem, or you have a good game, or whatever it is, they're able to have some success, and you say, see, this is what you're capable of doing if you put your mind to it? Is this that type of game, or is it, I don't know if they can sustain this? What did they show you, if anything, the Cardinals, with this 24-23 win?
Two things it showed me, Jay. One, about the league, and I just mentioned it earlier. You cannot call this league from week to week, because, I mean, look what happened up in Seattle. Giants go up there and beat them. I mean, you don't think from one game to the next, you're like, you can't tell which team is going to show up sometime. So it's the scattered nature of, us going in there and beating San Francisco. The thing it showed me about the Cardinals is they can be as inconsistent as I mean, the flip of a coin. You go from one extreme to the other with the Cardinals, and that's the head scratching part. If they played every week like they played against Washington last week, they wouldn't win a game. They could be 0-17.
Right.
If they played every game the way they came back, because think about how this game started. It was the halftime was 23-10, and this was we blocked punt or extra blocked field goal, taking back all the momentum. I thought this was going to be a boat race. Thought we were on our way to another 40-point game by the San Francisco 49ers. Instead, they had their issues, meaning San Francisco. We took advantage of it and played the way a team should play, especially on the road, grinding it out with Connor, not asking Kyler to do too much. They did get away from him running the ball again. I don't know why, because Kyler should be a weapon that's consistently used. But all being the way it was, we got control of that game. And what I'm talking about is the inconsistencies, the inconsistency of going from how we played against the Commanders last week, the first 2 quarters of this game, to what we did in the second half of the same game. It's head scratching to me. Now, we got a tough one coming up. We'll get into that later in the week. This upcoming game will show me if the roller coaster continues, let's call it that, because you cannot sustain success in the NFL week to week with the highs and lows that the Arizona Cardinals have showed so far. So although this is a great victory, if you plan on sustaining anything or being a factor in this division or taking those steps so one day, people can be confident in saying that's a playoff team, because even with that win, Jay, I'm not saying they're not a playoff team. Because so far they've shown me this and this. I mean, the highs and lows cannot be that high and that low. We've got to find consistency in the middle. When we find that, then I think I would have more confidence. And this is a great victory. And I tell both of your sons, bow down to you. I bow down to both.
2-0 in the NFC West. 2-0.
2-0 in the NFC West. So congratulations. What you asked me what it showed me. It showed me that we don't know what they're going to show us from one week to the next. And until we can say, and I mean, that goes for a whole bunch. Look, think about this. We're 2-3 right along with the San Francisco 49ers. And Cincinnati Bengals are 1-4 now. I mean, you got it's almost like you ever watch the superheroes and you got the Bizarro super friends. I mean, it is, there's some things that are going on. My dad used to always tell me, though, cream always rises to the top. So eventually this stuff is going to all work. There's always a team that surprises during the season, but most of the time the better teams eventually figure it out and they rise. The teams that can't figure it out are just inconsistent. They fall, and you got everything in between. So, congratulations to the Cardinals on this great victory. What I need to see, and here's the thing, I don't want to rain on the parade. What I'm saying, though, is if we go out and put on performances like we did last week instead of this week, how soon will it be that we've forgotten all about this San Francisco game, Jay?
Yes.
So in order not to forget about it, you got to give me, I'm greedy. I want more. And your son should want more. I mean,
Jimmy want more. Jimmy want more.
That's like you make a great dish for somebody, right, Jay? Son, that paprika in there? Is that paprika? Man, you should put a little more of that in there. That paprika set that off, bro. You gotta give them more. You gotta give them more. We want more. So, I mean, as great as this victory was, and it was a good one. They watching the film today. There's a lot of ooh in the first half, and a lot of everybody clapping in the second. And all that matters is you got that dub. Now you got to give us more, Jay. We want more.
Yeah. At least give us back-to-back wins on that. Give us back-to-back wins.
You got well, this is gonna be tough, and you got to go to.
I know, Green but I'm Bay. Just saying.
I know. Well, here's the thing: you got to give us more of good performance. Sometimes you're matched up because you remember Green Bay. They got pretty talented team over there. Great, good young quarterback. Match it up against our good young quarterback. They might be a little more talented across the roster. There's no shame, and we're not looking for a hand clap for good performance. But there would be no shame if they went over there, played hard like they did in the second half of this game with the same results, and just came up a little short or even surprised and got a win. But we want more of the consistency. I want to see Kyler running 40 yards, 50 yards for touchdowns. I want to see him hitting Marvin Harrison Jr., or at least looking at him a little more. That's still a little disappointing for me.
I want to get into that a bit. Again, Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. We are presented by Bet Online. And during the broadcast, this was mentioned a couple times by Ron Wolfley on the radio broadcast. And I want your thoughts on this. That yes, the chemistry is not there yet with Marvin Harrison Jr. That's obvious, even despite some great touchdown throws and catches, right? But the question was, are you concerned about Marvin Harrison not really high pointing the ball and just doing some things? Are there it makes me think, as you prepare your answer, there is when Larry Fitzgerald came into the league, he wasn't necessarily a great blocking wide receiver, and it wasn't until, what was the gentleman's name that ultimately became the head coach for the Kansas City Chiefs for a little bit. I forget his name, but he was really hard on him. And this is when what is it? The most win. I know Bruce Arians is the most winning, but what was the gentleman that took the coach that took the Cardinals to the Super Bowl? That coaching staff, right? That the offensive coordinator was really hard on Larry Fitzgerald to get him to, you got to do dirty things. You got to block. You have to do better in order to be able to reach your ceiling. And I think that is what, forgive that noise for just a minute, but that's what helped Larry Fitzgerald to really tap into his greatness. And it reminds me of some of that with maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. in his rookie season.
I go back to the lack of work they got in the preseason, and then also remind everybody how hard it is to learn in the regular season, because you got to remember, this is a time where we're installing for victory. We're not installing for education. And the bad part about that is, the time to learn your position and your trade is in the offseason. That's when you put all the work in to get to that next level. A young wide receiver, you would have hoped that he and a group and maybe Kyler went somewhere and they threw 1,000 balls to each other. And, and Kyler got to know where Marvin's sweet spot was in terms of when he's running the fade, where does he like it? Do you like the back shoulder? Where do you like it coming across, high, low? Some guys like it right in their face. Others like it down in the breadbasket so they can get their hands down here. Those are all the things that you learn during the offseason and you practice on in the preseason. We did not do any of that. So now we're asking a young rookie wide receiver, you got to learn, but you also got to perform during the season. And that's hard to do. He's out there trying to catch up with the speed of the game. These DBs who we didn't see any of in hard competition, you practice against your own guys, and, you get to a point where, it's competitive, but it's not competitive in terms of game day play. You get to the games, now all of a sudden you got these number one defenders, right? Number one cornerbacks. Hey, I'll take Marvin. They're taking you with the it's like their job. I'm going to shut him down. And he's seen in college, it was so easy. Now he's trying to do this at this level and learn at the same time. And you can tell that he's thinking too much. He's trying to figure it out, which I give him all the credit in the world for. But at the same time, it's not. It's just he still hasn't caught up with it yet. And that
sometimes, like there was the play where Kyler got really mad and they had to burn a timeout. I think it might have been towards the end of the first half. I forget the exact play, but he looked a little bit confused. Kyler was trying to tell him to move up, move down a little bit, move up, and they ended up having to burn a timeout. He still looks confused at some points as well.
Yeah. And I think it's just, I'm trying to, and I did not look this up. Wisenhunt, wasn't he the coach that was hard on the Larry? Wisenhunt.
Yes, Wisenhunt, but it was, I'll look up the offensive coordinator though. Well, yeah, keep going though.
Yeah. So but now, we're asking the young man to learn and perform at the same time. I would just wish they would have separated it a little more and giving him an opportunity doing, like I said, during the preseason. He's the jump from year 1 to 2, in my opinion, is going to be incredible for him because he's going to get through this season with all the bumps, the bruises, the bad performances, et cetera, et cetera. He's going to have a chance to finally just be a total pro, meaning not being drafted and wondering where you're going. He's actually going to have an off season, work with his quarterback. They'll get together. He'll probably, I can imagine him and his dad sitting around talking, what, how much that's going to elevate his game as well. But in the meantime, we're going to have to live with some of these performances. In my opinion, there's no excuse for him to have, let me see. He
Todd
was
Haley.
Todd Haley, there you go. Receiver wise, 2 passes for 36 yards on 7 targets. I mean, he was an afterthought. Michael Wilson was the receiver of note that every time the ball went up,
Yep.
I'm thinking, oh, there you go. No, that's not him. And it shouldn't be like that. He number 1 receiver. Kyler should have the confidence in him that when I throw it up, even if you're not open by standards, I can throw it up and you're going to make a play on it. And we're just not there yet with the young man. And like I said, I'm not jumping the gun on him. It's going to take a while for him to get there.
All right, so I want to come back to the Arizona Cardinals and talk about the offense and the defense, but I'm curious from an offensive perspective. Yes, I know the Cardinals off. When you look at the Cardinals defense, if you're an opponent looking at the Cardinals defense, you see that they can be shaky. Again, they made some great plays. Don't get me wrong, in order to win this game and to stay in that game with that Detroit game. But the defensive backs and the defensive line, was it an error for the 49ers to not focus more on running the ball? They ended up with 153 yards rushing on 26 attempts, I believe. But shouldn't they have run the ball more to gash what is one of the weak points of the Arizona Cardinals defense? It seemed like that played into the hands a bit of the Arizona Cardinals, because that way they made some adjustments and were able to do some things, especially in the second half.
Absolutely, Jay. They ran the ball 26 times, 153 yards, 5.9 per carry. And for some reason decided to throw the ball more than they actually ran the ball. And when you don't, and this is throwing the fact they did not have their kicker. So, I mean, let's grind some clock. We got a lead. Let's grind some clock. They can't stop us. We get down there close enough. They already showed their punter came in and kicked the extra point. We get down there close enough, maybe on the 3 or 4 yard line. Hey, we'll just take the 3 points, and walk right away from here. But they were still throwing the ball, around inside the red zone, getting penalties, getting pushed back. Now it's 1st and 20. We can't get first. Now we got to go for it on 4th and 20. I mean, what they were thinking, I have absolutely no idea. This was the first time in a long time I say, Shanahan, you got to out coach, because while they ran away from the run in the second half, we started when we started running the ball, especially on that last drive. I was like, they can't stop Connor right now, and they're gonna go down there and they're gonna get either a field goal or a touchdown to take this game, And sure enough, I mean, it was one of those things where it was like role reversal. I have no idea what the Niners were thinking. Sometimes you either get a little too cute, or you get out of sorts and start panicking. Whatever happened, we were the better coach team in the second half of that game. Overcame some stuff, obviously some crazy stuff in the first half, and San Francisco was way out of character. And maybe they thought, well, they don't have the DBs to stop us, and we got Debo, and they were getting Ayuk off, and even Kittle had a couple catches and a touchdown. Let's just do what we do, because they can't, and it came back to bite them in the butt, because like I said, they had no reason to continue to throw the ball all over the place. 0 points in the second half for the San Francisco 49ers. A lot of credit to the Cardinals, as well as a lot of, I don't know what the hell y'all were doing over there in San Fran, but thank you for the victory. You're on mute.
Indeed. Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals, presented by Bet Online. Now, let's go back to Kyler. So again, if I mention as a team, this shows when I say as a team, I'm talking about the coordinators as well. This is what you can do when you adjust and when you stay with the game plan, or when you look at the game plan and say, let's tweak it a bit. And of course, that's the definition of adjustment. But also, but for Kyler Murray, it was a little bit shaky there. You saw, and the camera kept panning to him, which doesn't help matters because we kept seeing it. But they kept panning to him when he was so frustrated. I think it was after the interception, if I'm not mistaken. And they just the camera kept going to him and going to him. You could see, and instead of going to his teammates or pulling out the tablet, even if it's just for show, to be able to act like his head is back in the game. It's those little things that he still has to work on. But conversely, in the second half, he showed some perseverance there, was able to make some plays. I'm not saying you're sold on him, because I'm not necessarily sold on him, but is it at least encouraging? Is he at least not in the danger zone with Ed Smith when it comes to Kyler Murray as a overall quarterback, attitude and skill set of execution being involved in that?
You ever been in the doghouse with Nika? Just done something stupid, right?
Yes.
And then you figure, well, I'll just get her some flowers and some candy. That'll be cool. And you bring her, hey, babe, I got these for you. And she looks at you like, here you go, please. Right?
Man, I've been there.
Okay, we all been there, right?
Yeah,
so that little flowers and candy that we just got from Kyler, that don't wash everything away. I mean, that shows, once again, it shows the inconsistency for me of Kyler again. I go back to inconsistency. If you're going to show me that once, that means you can show me that again next week and the week after and the week after. If you continue to show me good and bad Kyler, then I know bad Kyler's always in there. It's just a matter of when he's
around the corner. You show me the good, I know the bad around the corner. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I got to get to a point where, hey, he throws an interception, comes over the sideline, clapping his hands, looking at the tablet. Hey, let's get together. Maybe talking to the lineman. This ain't gonna happen. Hey, let's figure this out. Blocked field goal, goes back for a touchdown. Hey, we got this. I still don't see that from him. I see him isolated, not talking to anybody. Especially when it's going bad. He's another one. It's a roller coaster of emotions, bro. When it's good, like when he ran that touchdown in the first half, that's me, Superman. He didn't do Superman, but I'm saying you could tell he's got the chest out and all that kind of stuff. Later on, throws that interception, things aren't going well, sitting on the bench by himself, not talking to anybody. So you're showing me there was a movie many, many years ago, The Many Faces of Eve. That's exactly. So basically, we're getting the many faces of Kyler, and I don't need that from my starting quarterback. I need consistent. I need you, no matter what it looks. They talk about, who was it? Somebody was talking about. Okay, even Dak Prescott. I heard Cowherd talking about him earlier. He could throw 4 interceptions or have 4 touchdown passes. You never know which. I mean, you can look at him and he looks the same all the time. And I'm starting to see that about him. He can have a bad game, series, whatever it is. You couldn't tell. Or he could have thrown 4 touchdowns. You can't tell. You definitely know. You could be looking at another channel, flip back to the Cardinals game, and say you have missed like a quarter or something like that, and you can see what kind of day Kyler's having from the second you see him, either sitting, pouting, or all of a sudden now look at me, that type of thing. So we got to get away from that. We got to be more of a leader on every play, every down, no matter what the circumstances, not just when things are going well. And like I said, they were going well for a minute in the first half with the run, then they got real bad. And it looked like we were getting boat race. And you could tell he was nowhere in sight. And then we started to turn things around, and then he got back involved in everything. But I don't need that dip. So until, you're asking me, he ain't that day. Thank you, San Fran, for letting us have one. Now let's see what you do moving forward, Kyler, because I'm still not sold. This was a good game for him, but I mean, you look at the stats, and it's not all about stats, but it was nothing like incredible. The one run was incredible. The chuck and duck. Thank you, Marvin, for going up and getting that one later on in the game, because Kyler never saw it. He just knew he's going to be over there somewhere. I'll just throw it up, because that's his normal chuck and duck. We've seen that before. So not taking
So
anything
yeah,
away from
so
them.
along those lines, so are we? And I thought the same thing. I am not trying to hate. Period. Next sentence. It seems that sometimes in a win, we want to gloss over the things that are a concern. And when I say we, I'm talking about the macro we
Yeah,
as a fan base in media, etc. Those are still things that you have to work on to be consistent, as you said, and to grow to amass more wins than losses.
absolutely. And I bring the word up again, Jay. It's all about consistency. Consistency in who you are, consistency in how you lead, consistency in how you play. And I mean, we just need to see the same on a positive more and more and more. We can't take steps back. I mean, like I said, when you show us the other side, that's just a reminder of how bad it can actually be. And just because you won a game, that I mean, like you said, you can't just brush it all away like, oh yeah, everything's fixed now. No, it's not. We feel better because we got a W. What would have happened, Jay, if
Mm,
they would have San Fran figures it out and instead of going for everything, they start running the ball. I mean, this really could have been another 30-17 game or whatever it was. Whatever short circuit in their brains, we don't have to pay the price for that. We won that
yeah,
game. So
yeah.
we get it, but it still doesn't take away the fact that, on to the next. And I need to see more and more of good Kyler instead of bad Kyler.
It makes me think of what was it? Something that Dan Bickley, so locally here, said. It's not just the simple math of it, but 2-3 versus 1-4 is huge.
Yeah.
Is huge. It's not just 2-3 means next week, though challenging, you have the opportunity to be 500.
Yeah.
1-4 means the next game you got an opportunity to be 2-4. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's and the hole that you're digging yourself out of just to get back to even and then try to make up ground. It's a big deal. So it's definitely kudos to the Arizona Cardinals. So having said that, the defense, we were really hard on the defense last week, of course, but the Washington Commanders, we were complimentary of the defense when it came to the Lions, because while they didn't give up any points in the second half, they did give up a lot of yards on the ground. Did the defense show you a little more of, even being depleted, what they're capable of? When I say depleted, yes, of course, on the pass rusher side, we know that there are deficiencies there, but I guess maybe not being as talented as maybe the guys on the other side of on the other side of the ball. Did they give you a little bit more confidence in what they're able to do if they're able to play to their ceiling, which might be lower than some other team's ceiling, but to their ceiling?
Not necessarily, Jay. And I hate to say that because they did. It's a great performance. Anytime you hold a team scoreless in the second half, it's good. I still don't see a dynamic nature to anything we're doing, and that includes the defense. We don't have like the big dudes up front to put pressure on. We don't have the secondary to cover. I guess the good thing is we are tackling. But I don't, for this team
Versus the
defensive,
49ers, who missed quite a few tackles.
they missed quite a few, yeah. But as far as like, does it give me confidence? Not when I'm looking at some of the offenses that are going to be upcoming, going to Green Bay, whatever else is ahead. I just, no, this was, I'm not saying, I know your sons can probably beat me up on this because they did win this game. But moving forward, I don't see a juggernaut defense. When I'm thinking of think about what the Vikings are doing right now. I mean, they are just befuddling quarterbacks and getting after it. When can you say?
Good word.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
word.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yes.
that. When can you say we've gotten after it? I mean, we've fallen into some sacks and we've stopped some run plays, but we haven't come up with this amazing front or put this great attack together to totally confuse a quarterback or have them seeing ghosts out there or anything like that. No. So the inconsistencies will show when, and I guess I have to give Washington a little more credit because they just did what they did to Cleveland as well as us a couple weeks back. But
Yeah.
in my opinion, there's still no way. Like I always talk about how it all evens out, right, Jay? You win a
Yes.
game you're not supposed to, you lose a game you're not supposed to. But if you win that game you were supposed to, think about where you are right now. Instead of 2-3, 3-2, with a more positive outlook on what might lay ahead. So as we look at this schedule and we move forward, hey, there are going to be some games that are going to be tough to win, especially on the road. But we're going to have some coming up that you cannot lose. Like that Washington. I don't care what you say. I don't care what Washington's done against Cleveland. They stink. So, I mean, that we had them in there in our house. We should have put a better showing up against them. And, I don't want to go backwards. We already talked about that game. We did get this victory against San Fran. But, like, as far as confidence, I'm not what I would call overly confident. I got to see a lot more. And the word for this week is consistency.
Okay.
When we talk about identity over the last bunch of weeks, that's still out there. I'm still waiting to see what our identity is, because that first half, that was bad. And we had to scramble to win this one. In the second half, we started running the ball, which was good. So maybe if we get into more of that, we'll see what the identity is. That's still to be seen. But consistency, that's the word of the week for me.
Before we head out of here, it is interesting. People often talk about often dismiss the value of a kicker, but Prater, who was questionable, and so they had tried out a kicker. They signed a kicker to the practice squad at the end of last week. They elevated, of course, because Prater was out of the game, so we had a backup kicker new to the squad. And then during the game, the 49ers kicker was injured. Looks like his kicking leg. So it's interesting how that can affect strategy and play calling if you either have no confidence in your kicker slash your regular kicker is injured, so therefore you are uncertain about the kicker that you have.
Let me tell you something. I went to the Super Bowl because of a kicker. Morton Anderson, one of the greatest to ever do it. When we got close enough in that NFC Championship game, there was no question of whether he was going to hit the kick or not. The question was, could we block enough for him to get the kick off, or not do something stupid like hold or legal for or procedure or anything like that. There was no question that once that snap was there and the ball was on the ground, that man was going to put the ball through the uprights. So I know the value of a kicker, and people that poo-poo it and think that that these dudes are doing more with these 50-plus yard field goals than I mean, this is to a point now where it's not even a question. These dudes are hitting 59-yarders, and I'm like, I mean, before when you got to 50, it was like you stretching them out a little bit. Now these guys are hitting 55, 50. Houston walk-off 59-yarder, Fairbairn. I mean, and with room to spare. Yeah. I mean, so the importance of a kicker, at some point, they got to figure something out, because before you know it, they're going to be kicking from the other side of the field. And that's just crazy. But the importance of a kicker, yes, I know the importance of a kicker. San Fran learned it. We know it by watching what happened to them meltdown yesterday as well.
Indeed. So we do this thing twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays, we look back on the game that just took place. Thursdays, we look ahead to the upcoming opponents. So check for us on Thursday. And as always, we are presented by Bet Online. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend about what we have going on here at Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. Tell a Cardinals friend. And then if you don't know, tell their friend and all that.
Shout out to my son, Eddie, who listens to us every week up in Utah as well. He's doing his residency. He's doing well. Always asked about you too, Ryu.
You can. Yeah, you know how we do it. So until next time, as we always like to say around this time, you can.